थैंक यू मैडम, थैंक यू वेरी मच। आपने श्रीमान सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा जी को श्रद्धा सुमन अर्पित करते हुए उनके विराट व्यक्तित्व और उनके 9 दशक से भी अधिक लंबे संघर्ष के जीवन की संक्षिप्त एक यात्रा वृतांत हम सबके समक्ष प्रस्तुत की। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और बड़ी संक्षेप में आपने बताया कि किस प्रकार पर्यावरण के गांधी हमेशा हमेशा हम सबके दिलो दिमाग पर और मानव कल्याण के लिए हमेशा उनके विचार प्रासंगिक रहेंगे। हमारा सौभाग्य है कि आज इस अवसर पर सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा जी को हिमपुत्र और पर्यावरण गांधी जी को श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करने के लिए, जिन्होंने उनके साथ बड़े लंबे अंतराल तक कार्य किया, ऐसे महान वैज्ञानिक एक्टिविस्ट डॉक्टर वंदना शिवा जी हमारे बीच में हैं। डॉक्टर वंदना शिवा, she earned her PhD and MPhil in physics from Canada and Masters in physics from Punjab University, Chandigarh. Her schooling is from Nainital and Dehradun, and actively she has been involved with late Sundarlal Bahuguna ji in different aspects and different areas of environmental protection. Particularly, she is known as Gandhi of grain. Continuously, she is working on food security, especially for developing countries, not only in India, but globally. And for her outstanding contribution in the field of environment protection, biodiversity, biotechnology, genetic engineering, green movement in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Australia, she has been conferred with international awards. In 1993, she has been conferred Right Livelihood Awards, Sydney Peace Award in 2010, Merodi Prize in 2016, and Fukuoka Asian Culture Prize in 2012. Dr. Vandana Shiva is known for Bhopal's disaster, and especially after the existence of WTO, her work on intellectual property right is indispensable, especially for the development of agriculture, biotechnology, like those nations where agriculture is the main fetch for livelihood and economic development. With honor and respect, I would like to invite Dr. Vandana Shiva for, as she is the main speaker for this tribute session on late Sundar Bahuguna ji. With respect and honor, I would like to invite Dr. Vandana Shiva to pay her homage and tribute to a legendary, great Gandhian environmentalist, late Sundar Bahuguna ji. Dr. Vandana Shiva.
Dhanyavad or pranam. Thank you to Doon University for organizing this collective homage to our guide, our guru. My father, and like Sundarlalji's father, had been in the forest service. Sundarlalji lost his father very early. I have, with my brother and sister, walked the length and breadth of Kamau and Godwal when the forests were forests. And when I started to see them disappear, I was troubled. And I then heard about Chipko before leaving for Canada for my PhD, and took a pledge that every vacation I would work as a volunteer for Chipko. And that is how, in the 70s, I went to Silyara Ashram, met Sundarlal Bahuguna and Bimla Bahuguna, and they have been teachers since then. Sundarlal Bahuguna and Bimla Bahuguna were really together. They both gave strength to each other, and that was so beautiful. Both very frail and yet very strong. You know, we used to come to know only on the 45th day of his fast that he's been on a fast. And then we would all run. But it isn't too many people who can fast for 45 days. And as the Vice Chancellor so clearly mentioned, the divine life he lived radiated from him. And literally till the lockdown, we were visiting him because it brought us a joy. My brother constantly drove us down. And as long as Sundarlalji could move around, he used to come to our Earth University, our Bij Vidyapeeth, at Navdanya and take sessions in our courses. One could, of course, remember so much amazing detail about this amazing man. But I want to focus much more on the guidance he has left us, on what we need to do now and what we need to do in the future to continue his work. He was the one who reactivated the memory of the Tilari massacre. He went and set up the memorial. They made a declaration, and it's while going back, while during the journey, that Ghanshyam Shailani made that poem. Hum chipkonge, hum chipka pedon pe ab na katan der. That is what gave Chipko the name. Of course, the waking up of the women after the Alaknanda disaster. But the idea of Chipko was born out of this renewal and resurgence of our freedom movement. And the only way it could have happened is because Sundarlal lived through that continuity, inspired when he was 13 years old by Shri Dev Suman, and taking a pledge, I'm going to defend the freedom of my country. But because he also had the opportunity to work with Meera Behen and Sarla Behen, who were dear friends of our family, our parents, and visited us, Meera Behen in Chakrota, Sarla Behen in Pithoragarh, his deep ecological learning, both from his mother as well as these amazing teachers of our times, is what he has given to all of us. And the amazing slogan that changed the direction of Chipko, you know, they thought, oh, we'll get the contractors out of the way, but we'll still keep cutting the forest. And Advani was the shift. And then the slogan that grew, Kya hai jangal ke upkar, mat mitti pani aur bayar. In today's context, when we know all the science is teaching us that the spate of pandemics and epidemics have spread around the world in the last 30 years of the rule of greed, the rule of globalization, when our agriculture gets destroyed and the forests of Indonesia are destroyed for palm oil to then destroy our health, or Amazon is destroyed to grow GMO soya, to not only dump GMO soya oil on us, but to create fake food, plant-based meat, plant-based milk. You don't have to burn a forest for bad food that makes us sick. This will be our future challenge. Fake food and fake science and fake media, all joining hands to say milk is dangerous for you, but GMO farming with Baranaja, farming with Navdanya, that's dangerous. And on our farm in Dehradun, we have 6 times more pollinators than in the forest because we grow so much diversity. This idea, the new word that's been created, rewilding, is basically saying drive the people off the land. But people are the caretakers. If there hadn't been women dependent on the forest, we wouldn't have had a Chipko. The earth supports us to the extent we care for her. And this amazing slogan, Kya hai jangal ke upkar? I was thinking, what would Sundar Lalji be saying today? He was saying, Kya hai jangal ke upkar? Swasth. We can stop the pandemics if we stop cutting the forest. Shanti, we will stop the violence. So much of the violence is because people are being displaced. Or Suraksha. The true ecological Suraksha comes by protecting nature. And if we look at the number of conflicts over resources around the world, whether it be oil or it be over land, this is going to intensify even more. I've done a number of books on climate change, but the new trick being played is something called net zero. Yeah, the polluters, 93% excess pollution is coming from the rich countries. They'll keep polluting. But through net zero, they lock us into becoming sinks. But basically, when we protect biodiversity, we are protecting biodiversity for the intrinsic value. We are protecting the soil organisms for their intrinsic value. We are protecting the bees and pollinators for their intrinsic value. And our work in Navdanya has shown that by just serving nature and protecting her and giving back to her, we have 100% more nitrogen. Whereas when you apply urea, you have 22% less nitrogen in the soil. You have 100% more organic matter. And that's not all. When you act in service to the earth, the soil organisms give you the zinc and the magnesiums and the seleniums, everything we need. The soil, our bodies need the entire periodic table. The soil creates the entire periodic table. Can't be reduced to carbon, to be an offset for the polluters. I know very often we get charmed by the language of the colonizer. And now the language of the colonizer will use nature to death. Half for nature, they're saying. I said, how dare you? All for nature, because nature gives us everything. Sundar would never accept half for nature language, because all of the earth must be like the forest. Our agriculture must be like the forest. We must live lightly so that all beings can survive, as the beautiful Upanishad, which was such a favorite text of Sundarji's, had been distilled by Gandhi into saying, the earth has enough for everyone's needs, but not for a few people's greed. And the Upanishad of Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjita magridha kasya swidhanam. We have greed, limitless. Intellectual property, limitless. Even, I started Navdanya and Beach Bachao in '87 after a meeting where they told me that they wanted to patent seed, the chemical companies. We have fought many patents on neem, on basmati, on wheat. Now they've patented the corona. Of course, they have the patents on the vaccine. When we have learned from our culture to abhor greed, and you can't divide the world in this is mine, this privatization of nature, privatization of the earth is the challenge we have to face with guidance from Sundarji. And his constant reminder that ecology is the permanent economy. We've been made to feel since the British time, Vivekananda said, what the British did was made commerce the ruling religion. And he said, till we get rid of this rule of the Vaishyas, we will not be able to protect the earth and humanity. There's a little book by Vivekananda on socialism. Please read it. So extraction and commerce has been made to look like the economy. And Sundarlal reminded us, ecology, taking care of nature, is the permanent economy, because nature has an economy. We have sustenance economies. 80% of India lives outside the big globalized market economy, and they are under such assault right now. If the big giants who took, during this lockdown, the working people of the world lost $3.4 trillion. The rich billionaires made another $3.9 trillion. It's a transfer of wealth. We've never seen this level of transfer of wealth. And while Sundarji taught us how to chipko the trees, and the women in Doon Valley did a chipko of the mountains to stop the mining, we are having to chipko with computers. Now, I hope it will pass, because we need to chipko nature. And we need to remember what Sundarji said, a beautiful book by Waldiaji, where he cites, politicians have loudspeakers, but who will speak for the trees that will be cut? Who will come forward for the dying river? Who will protect the mountains? It is now time to hear the voice of the tree being cut, the voice of the river, the scream of the mountain that is sliding. Sundarji taught us how to be that voice. Let us continue his life's message by listening to nature, protecting nature, and having the courage to question the destruction as inevitable, the courage to create a truly new Atmanirbhar India, which begins with the Atmanirbharta of the river, the forest, the seed. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर वंदना शिवाजी। बड़े विस्तार से आपने पर्यावरण के गांधी और हिमपुत्र के व्यक्तित्व का वर्णन किया और आज के इस वैज्ञानिक युग में उनके विचार और उनके दर्शन कितने महत्वपूर्ण हैं, कितने आवश्यक हैं आने वाली पीढ़ी के लिए, इस पर आपने रेखांकित किया। क्या है जंगल के उपकार, मिट्टी पानी और बयार, मिट्टी पानी और बयार जिंदा रहने के आधार। ये संक्षिप्त व्यक्तित्व था हमारे महापुरुष का, जो युग प्रवर्तक रहे, युग पुरुष के रूप में आज स्थापित हो चुके हैं। भगवत गीता के 12वें अध्याय में उनके नेतृत्व का वर्णन करते हुए मैं उसके साथ इसको आत्मसात करना चाहूंगा कि यस्मात् न उद्दिचेत लोको लोकात् न उद्दिचेत च यः हर्षामर्ष भयो दुर्गे मुक्तो यो च सच प्रिय। यानी कि उनका जो लीडरशिप स्टाइल था वो इस प्रकार से इंस्पिरेशनल था, जो भय से, इट वाज फ्री फ्रॉम पेन फियर एंड एंजाइटी, जो किसी से न डरता था और न किसी में भय का भाव उत्पन्न करता था। इस प्रकार का व्यक्तित्व, इस प्रकार का इंस्पिरेशनल लीडरशिप सुंदरलाल बहुगुणा जी का देखने को है। आने वाले दिनों में हम उनसे, उनके विचारों से लाभान्वित होंगे। हमारे बीच में गांधीवादी चिंतक विचारक राधा भट्ट जी, राधा बहन जी उपस्थित हैं। मैं उनको आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगा